Going live.
All right, let's see. It looks like we are live on Facebook. Welcome, everyone. My name is Alisha. I'm an abuse coach and speaker, and this is Worthy Women Wednesday, and I'm so excited for this interview today with 𝕊𝕙𝕠𝕗. She's not only my business coach, but has supported me so much through life in general and has shown up as such a positive, powerful leader in my life and so many others. And so I'm really excited for this interview to actually really hear more about your story of overcoming abuse and showing up as a powerful leader and not just being okay in life, Tara. Like, that's the one thing I love about you. It's like, you're not just meant to be okay in life. You're meant to be so much more. And so I'm excited to hear from you. And I would love to start with your story. And thanks for being on.
Oh my gosh. I was literally just, and thank you for having me. And thank you for making this possible. And thank you for letting me be in my car, because I'm very excited to be on here for so many reasons. I love sharing my story, but I just love seeing what you're creating. And I love your urgency around it. It's so important. Worthy Women Wednesday. Like, I love the alliteration, but sometimes we get caught up in the marketing, and I just, in my soul, I literally went silent for an entire week pretty much. And maybe you even noticed, but I just, in my soul, I just have this, and I think you're experiencing the same thing, of just this urgency that women have got to get over whatever happened.
Yes.
You've got to get over it. You've got to get over whatever's happened, because you are worthy.
Yes.
And I'm Christian. And so I know I'm worthy because it says right in the Bible that I'm worthy because God created me that way. So that's a beautiful thing about me, that I get to know that. But, it's like this urgency. And so there's a couple things that are on my heart to share, because I have so many pieces to my story. Not only was I bullied by women, like, I have sourced abuse my entire life.
Yeah.
And the beautiful thing about the place and point that I'm at in my life now is that I'm not being abused anymore.
Yeah.
Like, for the first time ever, I'm not bringing people into my life to abuse me. And more importantly, I'm not abusing myself as much.
That is
as
yeah.
I was.
Yes.
So, you want to know my story? I'm really detached from my story at this point, because I'm really clear on what I'm up to in the world, but I get it. It makes us relatable. And so, I've been all the kinds of abused. I was bullied in high school. I've even been the abuser. Like, I got abused so many times that I started to have to fight, and I turned into a bully as well.
Yeah.
Which is so hard on your own heart. If you're bullying someone right now, the best advice I can give to you, if you're a bully, because I know this, I was a bully for a little fraction of my life, is be kind to yourself.
Yes.
Because bullies are beating themselves up. So yeah, I was bullied all throughout high school. One of the instances that coming to my mind right now is I went to a party, and I was always the designated driver. I never drank, but I was always going to new schools. And so I'd go to the new school, and I'd be really excited about new opportunity and new beginnings, because that's just who I am. That's like, I am that person. I just get really excited about change and opportunity. And they wouldn't like that. And then they would beat me up, and I would create enemies. My bright light inside of me made other people want to shine so bright they couldn't handle it, so they would try to dim my light. And so there's this one party that I went to, and these women attacked me. And they weren't women, they were little girls. We were little girls. It was crazy. And they beat me up so badly. They kicked my face in. Like, I don't even want to go over it. It was just terrible. And then I sourced my very first boyfriend, because everybody was bullying me so bad that I was, a slut, and I was all these things, and I was like terrified of boys growing up. I just was. I was like, I'm just going to be a virgin, because my dad scared being he told me one night, if you ever have sex under my roof, I'm kicking you out, and God will hate you forever. And I was terrified of sex. Plus, I've been sexually abused.
Yeah.
Plus, I'd been sexually abused by family when I was little. Right. And so I was scared of that whole thing. And so my first boyfriend, of course, actually was physically abusive, and not just a little bit, like to the point where his mom one night called the cops on him. So
Wow.
I
Yeah.
mean, I have, and in and amongst that, there's a million little stories. But here's the message. I'm so grateful for that. And I was just having this conversation with my husband. He's driving in another car right now. And he has someone who's literally, like, it never ends. When you source bullies in your life, you source bullies in your life. He literally has somebody at 60 years of age, 59 years of age. My husband is young, yes. And he's sourcing bullies still. And that's
Wow.
what they are. They're just like bullies, just mean people.
Yeah.
And on my way up here, and I know this is like, I get that this is long, but I just feel like God wants me to tell you guys all this. So
I love
just
it.
hear
Keep
me
going.
out. So I'm on my way up here and I'm listening to music, and he's like, what do I do? Like, I don't understand why this person's being this way. And I'm like, you know what? We just get to be compassionate for our bullies. We get to be compassionate for the people who are out to get us, for the people who post mean and nasty comments on our social media or on my social media or put things on the internet about us, because guess why? This isn't happening. I said this to my husband, and he knows all this, but you know, when you get caught up in your emotions, sometimes it's hard. And that's what having a wife is all about. I said, this isn't happening to you, honey. This is happening for you. And so what's the opportunity? And he was the first one to say and admit, he goes, you know, the opportunity is for me to have a tender heart, to be compassionate, to be loving.
Yes.
And forgive. That's the opportunity.
Yes. I love this so much. And this is exactly what I was hoping this conversation would be about, because yes, while I wanted to hear your story and maybe some of these questions might bring up a little bit more about your story in the past, but what I really want to focus with you on is this right here, is the present, and how it is so urgent to break those chains of abuse, so that for one, you don't show up as a bully, you don't show up as someone who's abusing. And then as for two, you get that healing and freedom so that you can show up as a powerful leader. And there's no better time than now. And we don't get to scrap 2020. And I know you know this as well. Like, all the memes are talking about 2021. Let's just get to that and forget about these next 4 months. No, we get to start now. And so really, like, you know, I want to ask some more questions, just a little bit about how you overcame your abuse and things like that. But really, like, what advice would you give to people who are still stuck maybe in their story, or really stuck in living in the past?
So I have a heart for people who have been abused, but I also know that most people have been abused. And a lot of times people use that abuse as an excuse to stay small. And there's nothing more terrifying in this world than playing small when you're big. It's actually the heart. It's being abused is like whatever, because that's just happening to your body. When you're not showing up in your calling and in your purpose, and you're playing small and you're letting other people dim your light, and then you're bringing more people into your life to dim your life even more, like, you're creating all of that. First of all, be responsible for what has happened to you and what is happening to you and what is going to happen to you. That's all you. But it's like, what would I say to them? I would say, I've just kind of, at this point, I have an enough is enough attitude. It's like, listen, what do you need? We're walking around this planet wearing masks right now, like a bunch of just dummies.
Yeah.
Okay, like, I'm watching, and I'm one of them. I'm like, put on my mask. And this woman in the airport today, she's like, make sure it's covering your mouth and your nose. I'm like, okay, can I get a drink of water? She's like, yeah, that's fine. Take my mask off to drink my, doesn't make any sense. And what else doesn't make any sense is that you are allowing something that happened to you, I don't know, maybe it's still happening to you, or happened to you recently, or happened to you when you were little.
Yeah.
And you're allowing that to control you like a dummy.
Yes.
Like a dummy, like a mask wearing robot. And I know there's a lot of opinions on this, and I'm probably pissing off a couple people. And you know what? I just don't care, because here's what matters. Do you know what really matters? Is that people rise up, and you're not going to rise up in your flesh. You will not rise up in your ego. You will not rise up in your emotions. You can only rise up in your power.
Yes.
in your power, and your power is in your heart, and your heart is from God.
Yes. I love all this. And I love your honesty and openness in this. And just like to speak into that, I know that the abuse might have been really painful and hard for a lot of you listening. And if you're currently in it, then we get to talk how you can get out of it. But what Tara is really driving home is that yes, the abuse was hard. And I agree with this completely. It was hard. But the years of me allowing the abuse to define me was what destroyed my life for 16 years until I really realized myself that I don't get to let this stop me. I don't get to live small, like you just said. And you've supported me in this so much, knowing that I get to keep going. I don't get to just live this like, oh, I get to support myself and not go support others. No, we're meant to show up powerfully as leaders, as women. And there's a rise coming with all these women showing up. And so what you're saying is like, yes, the abuse is painful, but not showing up in your power is even more painful. And I think that's what we really need to understand, is that is the urgency. That is why Tara and I can come on here and talk to you straight. And maybe it's hard to hear, but know that and you say this all the time, Tara, we're just like you know? And so how can you really drive that home to know that so really I want you to speak into what you've created since then. Okay. And speak into women who are like, well, could that be me? Could I be a coach? Could I open my own business? Could I be successful?
I know I try to piece this back for myself so that I can be an even more powerful coach. Like sometimes when you're just really good at something, I'm an overcomer. I've always been an overcomer. And so I think I got really good at being an overcomer. And I got really good at putting one foot in front of another, even when it didn't make sense. And so the answer to your question is yes, of course. Like you can literally have whatever you want, however you want it, whenever you want it, 100% is possible, 100% of the time. And yet I am reminded of a moment that I felt desperate. And it wasn't, I was really little when I was sexually abused. And so that has more of a trickle effect for me in my life, where I get really scared around men, or like I get like I can't, I'm like, if I'm alone in my home, I get like in the middle of the night, I'll wake up just panicked. I still have trauma around that. And so I think that's not exactly the moment that I'm talking about, because it was really little when that happened. I was like 5. The moment I'm talking about is when I'd been in an abusive relationship, and I'm talking very abusive, like throw me down the stairs, smash my head against the bathtub. This one night he chased me like, oh, it was just, okay, I'll tell you the story because I think it's important to know.
Your volume went out a little bit, Tara.
Oh, did it? Hang on.
There you go. No, it's back.
Okay. This is what I hate about social media. Most people have gone to like a messaging coach. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
That's the messaging coach. They're like, okay, tell me how to tell my story. Tell me how to package this in a way. And these messaging coaches, they're making like big bucks to teach you how to package your story. So I'm going to invite you to not hire a messaging coach. Like, I get it. Get your niche down, especially if you want to be a coach or a mentor, an influencer. Get your niche down, find out who you serve, do all that for sure. You need to get clear on that and what your message is. But share your story as though it's a memory, not as though it's something that you've memorized from a piece of paper that lands for everyone, So I'll tell you the story. I had been with this young man who was my first love. Oh yeah, I'm taking it back to, I lost my virginity to him. I was 18 years old. Like I waited to lose my virginity. And I thought I was going to marry him. And he took me to this super small, freezing cold town in as north as possible before we got to Alaska, pretty much in Canada. And I just started to eat my emotions. I started to gain weight. He started to just abuse me even more. The bigger I got, the more he would abuse me. And I finally escaped. I finally got away from this guy who was throwing me downstairs and verbally abusing me, telling me I was fat, I was stupid, I was horrible, I was not lovable. He cheated on me, like just awful things. So I finally got the courage to run back to my mom's house, which just, to spare my mom, because that was a time in her life that she's no longer in. I won't get into it, but was abusive in itself. So I went from one extremely abusive scenario to a mediocre abusive scenario. And again, I get it. I created all of this. I would not be the woman that I am today had I not experienced all this pain. But I got myself into working at a nightclub. And so working in a nightclub when you're 18, 19 years old, but I was doing it so that I could run even further away, because I wanted to work on cruise ships and I needed $3,000 to do that. And so I run away, I start working in this nightclub, and my psychotic ex-boyfriend finds me in the nightclub, follows me home, and long story short, beats the crap out of me in front of his mom, strangling me, dragging me up and down stairs, trying to stuff his fist down my throat. Like the corners, when he was done with me, the corners of my mouth were ripped from side to side. His handprints and bruises were all over my body from my stomach. He used to grab my stomach fat and try to rip it off of me. It was disgusting. And so here I am, I've got a brand new job. This is my way out. I'm going to get out of this godforsaken world I've created. And now I have to wear a little belly shirt to the bar that I work at. And I try to call in sick the next day. And they said, if you're not coming in, you don't have a job anymore. And I needed this job. And so I said, can I just come in and share with you like what happened last night? So I come in, I'm beaten up, totally beaten up. I have nobody. My mom and her husband were off, God knows where. They don't know about this yet. Yeah. His mom ended up calling the cops that night, putting her own son in jail because she couldn't even control him. Can you imagine having to call the cops on your son? Yeah. That's a horrible thing for a mother to have to do. But she got to a point where she didn't know what was going to happen. She was like, if I don't call the cops, he could kill me.
Yeah.
He could have killed me that night. So I end up in more abuse. I end up going to work and showing them what happened. And they end up beating the crap out of him because of what he did to me. Then a restraining order, all of this just disgusting stuff. It's just tumultuous. And one thing leads into another thing. I hate even talking about it because it was just so toxic. Yeah. And I ran as far away as I could, and that was to Miami, Florida, which coincidentally I just got back from today. I literally haven't been back to Miami since then, and now I'm back. And I worked on cruise ships for 4 years. And I got to tell you, bringing it back to that desperate moment, I was just, what do you call it? Like kind of like smithereens, like when you smash something so hard, it's just in smithereens, like you can't even put it back together. And not only that, I was alone. I ran away, like far away from everybody who, well, I don't even know if I had anybody who was really straight enough to love me at that point, but I just ran away to be by myself. And sometimes you're the only person who can save you.
Yes.
You got to run sometimes. You got to run as far away as possible. And you know what? It took me years to piece myself back together because they didn't have abuse coaches. Man, I could have used you then.
Yeah. Yeah.
If that was an option for me. But you know what I did? I dug my head into work and I became so fiery, so fierce, I was angry. Yeah. And I just used that force and that anger to create. And I became one of the top auctioneers in the company. And now I have a really great skill that was a blessing from that experience. I have this really cool skill where I can raise millions of dollars for charities.
I love when you auction. Yeah. Yeah.
It's fun. It's such a random skill to have, but I have it because of that. And I have this business where I get to support women like you, supporting women who are being abused right now. Had I not gone through any of that, none of this would exist.
Yes, exactly. To be honest, exactly. Because when I was looking for a business coach, really like you showing up and seeing me who I was and taking a stand for me was so supportive during that time. Because I was like, yes, I'm going to do this. And you're like, no, Alisha, you get to be the abuse coach and take a stand for so many women. And I was playing small. But really to go back, Tara, to like your story of sourcing these relationships and sourcing these things, because it's so common to get into a abusive relationship after childhood abuse. And so most oftentimes we beat ourselves up for getting in that relationship. We're like, how could we do this? How could we stay? How could we do all that stuff? But really at the end of the day, like you said, like until you like, so for me, how I word it is that you're breaking the chains of abuse, and you're breaking the chains, and you're saying you're breaking the source energy of attracting people who want to hurt you. And so like, really, like that's what it takes to show up powerfully and to have relationships, is to break that chain. And so for you, if you haven't gone through that yet, it is completely possible for you to. And like Tara said, like she just dove in to her work. And yes, like while a lot of times that is one of the ways that we like cope as far as like getting busy, right? Did you just try to like just stay busy all the time just so you maybe didn't have to think about the past or anything like that?
I don't know what I was doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know what I was doing, but here's what I did. I pretty much allowed any man who took any interest in me to pretend to love me for a few weeks.
Yeah.
It was really hard on my soul. Then when I got off cruise ships after having so many quote unquote boyfriends who just broke my heart, promised me that they were it. I mean, it was cruise ships. No one really falls in love on cruise ships.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Then I started abusing my own body with drugs and alcohol when I got off ships.
Yeah.
So I was just interviewed yesterday, a question that came up, and I can't remember the exact question, but it was like, I'm so committed to being authentic, and I'm so sick of this, like, well, how did you like get to this point in your life? It's like, no, I haven't even gotten to where I want to be.
Yes.
Thank God I have a loving husband who doesn't abuse me.
Yeah.
You know, like that's a start. But here's the deal. You're never going to arrive. So why not just be courageous? You're never going to know how to do it. There's things right now that I don't even know how to do. I went into 2 weeks of content creation, and I said to Christina, I was like, I don't even know what I'm doing. And she's like, I know, isn't it awesome?
Yeah.
Because the minute you know that, the minute that you feel that you know you're doing something, or that you know what you're doing, it's too late.
Yeah.
Miss the opportunity. Just put one foot in front of another foot.
Yes. And you talk about this all the time. Like it's about taking actionable steps every single day. It doesn't have to be perfect steps every single day, but it's like actually taking action every single day and staying consistent. So like really like, yeah, can you just speak into just being consistent / like the really, like you talk about this a lot too, just like getting rid of your limiting beliefs from your past so that you can show up. And like you said, they're never going to be gone. Like you're not going to get to that point where you're like, oh, I have no limiting beliefs today. And if you don't know what limiting beliefs, like, can you explain that too? But just really explain just like how you can show up powerfully every single day for yourself.
Yeah, I'm going to get really real with you because I'm so sick of these conversations that all of these BSers are having.
Yeah.
It's not possible to show up consistently for yourself every day. Sometimes you have a day where you don't show up for yourself.
Yes.
Sometimes you have 3, 4, 5, 6 days in a row where you don't show up for yourself.
Love that.
And that is okay.
Yeah.
But here's where the new nugget is in this. Identify that you're not showing up and admit it and acknowledge it. And don't make it wrong.
Yes.
Just say, hey, listen, like I sent an email to my email list today because I've been quiet. I haven't been sharing because I've been like reconnecting to something new that's stirring in my soul. And you can't ignore that.
Yes.
If something new is igniting in your soul, you can't ignore that. And you can't pretend it's not there. And you can't fake something else until you figure that out. Sometimes you've got to stop and listen. And so I've been quiet. I haven't been consistent. I haven't gone live for 2 weeks.
Yes.
That's a big deal in my world. Some people would say that's like killer to your career, but you know what? I'm not going to speak unless it's authentic. And the truth of the matter is I've been really disappointed in the way that the world is showing up right now. And I don't get to show up disappointed. I get to show up powerful. I get to show up saying, hey, here's a new way. It's okay to not be consistent. What's not okay and what doesn't work is when you don't acknowledge it and you don't own it and you don't be responsible for it.
Yes.
What also doesn't work is when You make yourself wrong for not being consistent. Oh, well, Alisha Garrett told me that I have to be consistent. I have to, like, yes, there is consistency is key. It absolutely is. You got to show up 100%. Yeah. And when you don't, you've got to own that you're wasting a lot of time beating yourself up.
Yes, that right there is the key. And if you don't take anything else away from this, you don't get to beat up yourself for yesterday. You don't get to beat up yourself for a minute ago. You get to keep going, because exactly like you said, so oftentimes I have women who come to me or who's coaching with me, and they're like, I'm so sorry, last week I didn't do any of the things. I'm like, okay, that's okay. What is important to you at this moment right now? Okay, if those things are important, how can we get back on track? It's not about talking, because so often we want to stay in the past. It's so easy to stay in the past and beat up on ourselves for the past. And even Tara, like to your point of like getting into like drugs and alcohol and being with so many men, it's like you were fighting for yourself the only way you knew how. And so now let's fight for ourselves in a different way. Now let's show up powerfully for ourselves in a different way. And yes, that does not happen every day. Anyone who can say that they consistently show up for themselves every single day is lying, because it's lying. It is
Magic rock.
Yes.
Okay. I will say there are. So my coach Rael, my fitness coach, she works out every day.
Yeah.
But there's things in her life that she's not consistent with.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Like, I'm consistent with prayer. Every day I pray. Every day I listen to worship music. There's some things that are easier for other people that they're just consistent at.
Yeah.
But the thing that you're wanting to be consistent at is not the thing that you're naturally consistent at. Otherwise, you wouldn't want to be consistent.
Yes, exactly. And that is why, like, you get support in your life to, work on those things that might not come easy to you, like business, behind the scenes business stuff. Like, I come to you all the time being like, Tara, like, how do you even run this thing? Because that's not what comes consistently for me. Working out comes consistently. Showing up in different ways in my life is easy for me usually, not every day, but really, like, we get support in life. And so, like, can you just speak into how to find support, how to find someone who you can really connect with and really actually go through life with? Because Tara, like, I go through life with you. Like, yes, you're my business coach, but you just show up for me on the days where I let my past define me, or I get down on myself, because that happens still, yes, to this day. Like, me and Tara aren't coming here being like, we've got it under control, like we're perfect. Is yes, there's no such thing. But can you speak into just finding someone who can support you? Because I really truly believe, like, we're not meant to do life on our own.
Yeah, what really sucks about the world right now, and I'm just going to say this, is that spirituality has become really mainstream. Like, new age has become really mainstream, and it's creating this false identity for people where they feel that they have, it's that message around, you are one, you are God, you can, like, do it all and have it all you have to do is consult with yourself and go within and meditate. No.
Yeah. Oh, we just lost you. I don't know.
I really don't. I don't care if I'm pissing anybody off.
Oh, wait, Tara, you just got cut off. Can you start over?
Yeah, that's because the devil's trying to cut me off from saying
that. He's like, no one's allowed to hear
the power of Jesus Christ. You get to leave. Connection will be so strong now. Thank you. So, listen, you can't do it on your own. You're not God. I don't care what morning routine you have, with what Deepak Chopra chant you're doing, what Oprah Club book you're reading. Okay. Yeah. I do not care until you have a connection to a source that is outside of you, bigger than you, that is rested in truth.
Yeah.
Will you ever feel whole?
Yeah.
Because you can't deem yourself worthy.
Yeah. Because
it was your creator who made you that way. And you get to rest in knowing that you are worthy because he created you that way.
Yeah.
You can't, you just can't. You don't have it within you. So your number one support gets to be God, is the answer to your question.
Yeah. Yeah.
Shock the crap out of your audience, but I just don't care anymore. This is what happened to me in Miami. I don't care anymore. Like, Like there's just so much earthly crap going on, so much ego, so much of the flesh, and all that esoteric energy crap is all wrapped up in it.
Yeah.
It's all ego. You are all powerful, all one. No, that's not true. God, the creator, is the almighty one. And whatever you do and you bind and you reap here on this earth, you will also reap in heaven. And that is my belief. Take it or leave it. I don't care. So, number one, connect with God. Do whatever it takes. Get on your knees. Pray to him. Ask for forgiveness. Invite him into your life. Invite Jesus into your life. Open up your heart. Create a broken, open heart. And then get out of your head and go and help someone else. I don't care who it is. Make a list of 10, the power of 10. We do this in my community, in our community, Alisha, you're very familiar with this. Write down a list of 10 women, 10 men that you just want to help just for the sake of helping. Become a servant, have a servitude heart, and prepare that servant heart. If you want to have a servant heart, woo, the Holy Spirit's got me right now. Listen to this. You got to get humble. You got to ask for feedback. You got to ask people, what's in my blind spot? You got to reach out to Alisha. You got to reach out to me. Say, hey, listen, I'm moving and shaking. I know I'm supposed to rise. I don't know what I'm doing. Be humble. Get over yourself. Maybe you don't have it all together. You got someone who's abusing you right now. You're abusing drugs. You're being sexually abused, physically abused. Have the courage to admit it.
Yes.
And stop making your abuse about you.
Yeah.
Your abuse isn't about you. Your abuse is a beautiful opportunity to not only move and shake and show yourself what you're capable of, but also be a miracle for somebody else who needs you even more than you need someone right now.
Yeah.
So go and serve.
Yeah. Go and serve. Absolutely. Honestly, like that is where we get what we get to do to get out of our own heads is go look around. Who can you serve? Everyone, like, you know, sometimes you're like, well, I don't know. Like there's no one. It's like, no, talk to your best friend. You don't know what they're going through. You have no idea what people are going through. And that's why this message is so important, to get out of your own head, to get out of your own way and really just show up for others. It doesn't have to be and exactly, like it doesn't have, you said this in the very beginning, it doesn't have to be this like beautiful, beautiful message, whatever. Hey, hop on a phone call, check on people, see how they're doing, and support people any way possible. And really knowing that your past does not get to stop you any longer, because there is no time to wait. We have pushed it off. I think as the US, we've pushed things off. We've not talked about hard topics. But when you don't talk about these hard topics, they're in the dark and they grow. And when you bring it to light, things get conquered. We get to keep fighting. And just like everything is coming up in the world, I think that yes, there's a lot of hardships and there's a lot of things that we could focus on, but there's a lot of healing. There's a lot of freedom right now. And you get to choose that. It's a choice to keep showing up. It's a choice to not let your past define you. And so, Tara, like, what can you leave people with? Like, how can they get a hold of you? How can they, I want people to be in contact with you, because Tara, I don't even think I've seen this like fiery side of you. And I'm like, I'm pumped up right now because yes, we don't get to just be small and scared to talk about what's on our heart. Because who knows what Tara touched, who Tara touched. Like, comment below, like, let us know what you got from this, because it's like we don't get to be small and scared of what people are going to say, because our message isn't for everybody, but that's okay, and we get to keep going.
That's okay. I mean, you'll find me. It's just, there's only two Tara Oldridges in the world. One is a stripper and a porn star, and the other is me.
Of course. Yeah, of course.
But it shows me, that's interesting, because it's like, how is the only other Tara Oldridge in the world like the exact opposite of me? And it's like, I actually statistically should have been her.
Yeah.
I should have been, and I should actually call her or find her and witness her, because I grew up in a town, my family didn't have any money. I've been going to parties since I was 2 years old on the weekends, and I say that because my parents brought me to parties. I mean, it was with my dad every weekend, and that's what he did. They partied, they were young. And I was around drugs and alcohol my entire life, sex, just disgusting, gross things. There was no money. And I grew up statistically in a really disgusting little town. I shouldn't be so horrible because some of my closest friends still live in this town. My experience of my childhood was disgusting. And so I have no choice but to have that memory of the town that I grew up in. Actually, when I go back, I can see the beauty in it now. But,
Yeah.
My point is that you are just one decision away from living like the queen I'm living in, like the queen that I live like. I live like a queen because
Yeah.
I choose it, because I show up as a queen.
Yeah.
And I choose it. And I chose it my entire life to just have something more. And even if you just want to take the step today of just saying, okay, what could it look like if I wanted more?
Yeah. Just say it out loud. Even if you, go home tonight or wherever you're at and just say it out loud. There's a power of saying it out loud.
Yeah.
And we don't get to stop there. We get to say it out loud and figure out, hey, what is missing in my life and how can I change that? Because exactly, like Tara and I are no different than any of you in the sense that if we can find healing and freedom, if we can show up powerfully, if we can be queens, you can too.
Mm-hmm.
And you get to realize because I'm sure you were like this too, Tara. It's like I used to look at other women and be like, they can find healing and freedom, but I can't. Like that's not for me.
Mm-hmm.
But it's for everybody.
One of the biggest game changers in my life, believe this or not, and I don't know if you remember this movie. Do you remember Clueless?
Yes, vaguely.
With Alicia Silverstone.
Yeah.
It's like pretty much her one and only hit.
Yeah.
That movie changed my life. I watched it over and over and over again. And it was because I was like, I'm going to have her life.
Wow.
That I want to be that confident and that articulate and that, because she's really actually articulate. She comes across really ditzy in the movie, but she's actually really smart.
Yeah.
And she has everything. Now, I've gone through this really crazy week of wanting to detach from material things in a really big way. I want to just shed everything and move to Africa right now. So that's another interview.
I'm going to say, I was like, wow, I did not hear about that one.
Yeah. But it's one step in front of the other, and stop making yourself a victim.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Because from victim comes victor, but you're the one who chooses that.
Yes.
You can't be a victor without a victim story. You get to have your story, but you get to be a victor of it.
Yes. And you get to own your story and keep going. And like we can look at other people and like Tara, like I look at you and I admire so much of what you do, but I don't want to be Tara Oldridge. Like, I don't want to be you. I can admire that. I can learn from you and to encourage you guys. Like, you don't want to be Alisha or Tara. You want to be who you are. And that's what's special. Your story matters in the sense that you get to show up as you powerfully in this world. Mm-hmm. And it's a choice every single day. Tara and I can easily stop what we're doing right now and go lay on the beach every day and not show up, and not show up online, not show up. And yes, we don't have to show up every single day, but that's a choice we could make, but we choose to take a stand for you because we know what it's like to not feel like this is possible for you, for me. And so thank you, Tara, for speaking into that. Thank you for being open and honest. I am excited because this is, like I said, guys, I've known Tara, she's my business coach, but right here is like the realest I've ever seen you be. And thank you for that. Because it inspires me. Like every time I talk to you, I'm like, you're so vulnerable. And then I talk to you again and I'm like, oh, she's even more vulnerable today. So thank you for inspiring me to keep showing up. Thank you for all that you do. And I'm so excited for women to connect with you.
Girl, I'm telling you, you wait, these next 6 months, you're going to hit the top. Like, you are the abuse coach. I know it. I know it. Yeah. I actually had, and I won't say her name, but I had somebody message me the other day and was just like, thank you so much for Alicia's program. Like, it's changing my life. And she's like, I didn't even know I needed this. Yeah. And I think that's one of the opportunities, if you're listening to this and you're being abused, is, to just know that there is an option for you. Like, you do have options.
Yes.
You can reach out.
Yeah.
Yeah, more so now than ever. 10 years ago, you could never reach out about this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, you spoke into that. You're like, I wish I would have had someone like you as when I was going through abuse and healing. And that exactly is why I show up every single day. Because every single day that I want to quit, or I'm like, am I even making a difference? Every single day I'm like, I wish I would have had someone like me to show up and to have that support, because there are options now. We don't have to put it in the closet and check on 2021, maybe talk about it then. We have options now.
Yeah. And if any of you, and I'm just going to plug you for a second, if any of you are on the fence about joining Alicia's program, her program is never going to be this cheap, because I'm never going to let her offer this program that she's doing for as little as she's offering it ever again. Otherwise, I'll fire her.
You probably get on. Yeah, you get me like going every single time.
Never again, because it's a lot of work for you.
You did.
You pour your heart and soul into this, and so you get to charge accordingly.
Yes,
okay.
I do. Yes, thank you. Love you, Tara. Thank you so much for being on. Bye, guys.
Bye.